The internet is shaking tonight, not stirring, not whispering, but shaking. After news broke that D4VD, the voice behind some of the most haunting tracks of this generation, is now facing a sentencing hearing that could end his career forever. Fans are calling it the goodbye nobody was prepared for, and honestly, they're right. Because this isn't just a courtroom moment. This isn't just a legal update. This feels like the final chapter of something that's been unraveling behind the scenes for months, maybe even years. All the rumors, all the strange live streams, all the cryptic messages, all the sudden disappearances, all the emotional breakdowns hidden behind "I'm fine." They all make sense now. Because according to insiders, the ones who have been begging people to pay attention, D4VD wasn't spiraling because of music, fame, pressure, or burnout. He was spiraling because he knew this moment was coming. He knew the walls were closing in. He knew the truth he tried to bury was about to erupt into public view. And tonight, it finally did. The documents hit social media like a bomb: court filings, timeline breakdowns, police statements, financial discrepancies, a testimony from someone unbelievably close to him, someone whose name people did not expect to see tied to this story. And the second fans saw it, they realized this wasn't an accident. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was the result of a chain reaction that started long before anyone even noticed something was wrong. One line in the filings made the internet stop breathing. The defendant was aware of the consequences. Aware? How long? Since when? And why didn't he say anything? Screenshots spread instantly. Fans posted breakdown videos with tears running down their faces. People replayed old interviews looking for clues they missed. And in every clip, D4VD looks different. Tired, shaken, like a man trying to outrun something getting closer every day. And now, there's no running left. Because tomorrow, or next week, or whenever that judge reads the final decision, it may be the last time the world sees the artist they grew up on. The one whose music held people together, healed breakups, and became the soundtrack to millions of lives. This is not just a sentencing. This is the goodbye nobody wanted. Long before the sentencing, long before the charges surfaced, long before fans started asking, what happened to him? There were signs, small, quiet, chilling signs, that something in D4VD's life was cracking beneath the surface. But because he's always been that mysterious, emotionally layered artist who spoke through music instead of interviews, people didn't notice the shift at first. They thought it was artistic evolution, or growing pains, or just the emotional weight of fame settling on someone who got big fast. But now, looking back, every moment feels like a warning. It started with the vanishing, the sudden radio silence, the abrupt cancellations, the late-night IG lives where he'd go quiet mid-sentence, the stories he'd delete seconds after posting. People dismissed it as normal celebrity burnout. But those close to him say it wasn't burnout. They say it was fear. Because months before the legal trouble surfaced, D4VD allegedly received a message. Not an email, not a DM, but a physical envelope, something that immediately changed the way he spoke, performed, and behaved. According to someone who was with him that night, his hands were trembling when he opened it. He didn't say what was inside. He just whispered, "It's happening, it's finally happening." No one understood what he meant. They thought it was about a label issue or a private breakup or maybe the pressure of trying to top his own success. But whatever was inside that envelope didn't just scare him, it haunted him. Those around him noticed the shift instantly. He went from being soft-spoken and introspective to tense and jumpy, always checking behind him, watching the door, keeping his phone face down like he was waiting for a notification that he dreaded but couldn't avoid. A producer who worked with him during that period said D4VD would pace the studio before recording, muttering things like, "I should have fixed this earlier. I should have stopped this before it got this far." But nobody knew what this was. Then came the money issues, sudden ones, despite the fact that his music was charting, streaming, and going viral on every platform. Insiders whispered about withdrawals he didn't authorize, payments that didn't match their amounts, and transactions tied to a name nobody recognized. It got so bizarre that one financial consultant allegedly advised him to freeze everything until you figure out what's happening. But freezing didn't fix what was coming. Because the real trigger, the real bomb in this story wasn't financial. It was personal. People forget how young D4VD was when his career exploded, how fast everything changed, how suddenly the pressure hit. And behind that rise was someone, a person fans didn't even know existed, who now appears deep inside the court filings. Someone who wasn't supposed to testify, someone who wasn't supposed to come forward. They were close. Too close, And the moment their name appeared in the documents, fans realized this wasn't a case about fame. This was a case about betrayal. Because according to the background timeline, D4VD and this person had a falling out months before the sentencing. A silent falling out. No posts, no public drama, no cryptic tweets, nothing loud, just a sudden eerie separation between two people who once seemed inseparable. And right after that separation, everything in D4VD's life spiraled. Studio sessions canceled, friends pushed away, private meetings with lawyers at strange hours. A sudden change in demeanor during performances, not artistic darkness, real darkness. Then came the accident. Fans remember the night he showed up on live with a cut on his forehead and a bruise along his jawline. He laughed it off, called it a dumb moment. But insiders said he wasn't laughing when it happened. According to someone on the team, he was shaken not from the pain but from the implications. He said, "Someone's trying to push me into a corner." That phrase didn't make sense back then. It does now. Because the current sentencing, the one the world is preparing for, stems from an incident tied directly to someone in his inner circle. Someone who felt ignored, someone who felt betrayed, someone who claims D4VD crossed a line that the internet still doesn't understand. Court documents describe a confrontation, witnesses describe shouting. Security footage shows a blur of motion, raised voices, and a moment that spiraled into something D4VD couldn't undo. But here's the part that makes the background even darker. There are two versions of what happened that night. D4VD's version and the version that's being presented in court. And fans are starting to notice the discrepancies. In one version, D4VD was defending himself. In another version, he initiated the confrontation. In one version, he tried to walk away. In another, he escalated the chaos. And the court is leaning heavily toward the version that paints him as the aggressor. But why? Why ignore his messages from that time? Messages where he told multiple people he felt set up. Why ignore the witnesses who claim someone provoked him repeatedly? Why ignore the timeline showing months of harassment that led up to the incident? Why ignore the envelope that shook him to his core? Unless the narrative benefits from portraying him as the villain. And that's exactly why his fans are terrified. Because the charges he is facing are not small mistakes. They are life-changing, career-ending, freedom-destroying. And the strangest part is this. The person testifying against him has everything to gain if he disappears from the industry. People who know the situation say the betrayal that happened behind the scenes was not accidental. It was strategic, calculated, cold, as if someone had been waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And the sentencing, it is not a punishment. It is the finale of a plan that began long before D4VD even realized someone close to him was turning into his biggest threat. Everything that had been simmering beneath the surface. The fear, the paranoia, the strange disappearances, the broken friendships, the cryptic envelope, the unexplained bruises. All of it finally collided on the night that would end up defining D4VD's future forever. The night the courts call the incident. The night fans replay endlessly, trying to understand where the truth slipped through his fingers. The night his life split into a before and an after. And the twisted part, that night didn't even start as a confrontation. It started as a setup. According to insiders, the ones who were close enough to hear the details before the lawyers stepped in, D4VD was already on edge that entire week. He hadn't been sleeping. He hadn't been eating. He was switching hotels without explanation. People said he kept checking his phone like he was expecting the worst news imaginable. And the pressure wasn't coming from fans, tabloids, or the industry. It was coming from someone inside his inner circle, someone he trusted. Someone he protected, someone who had known him long before the world discovered his music. This person, who court documents now refer to only as Witness A, had been growing increasingly resentful behind closed doors, jealous of the attention, jealous of the fame, jealous of the success. But beneath the jealousy was something darker, something that now appears to have escalated into manipulation, guilt-tripping, and psychological pressure. The kind that eats at someone slowly, silently, until you can't tell what's real and what's being pushed into your head. Witness A had been sending voice notes to D4VD at all hours, some comforting, some threatening, some emotional, some cold. A pattern fans only discovered when a private chat leaked last month containing messages like, "You think you can just leave me behind now? I know things about you that no one else does. You owe me more than you think. You wouldn't even be here without me." Fans went into full meltdown, debating whether those messages were real. Then a digital forensics team confirmed the metadata. The The timestamps matched D4VD's phone activity during that exact period. So when Witness A messaged him the night of the incident, "We need to talk now," D4VD didn't hesitate. He went, not realizing he was walking straight into the trap. According to the security footage the court keeps referencing, the footage they won't release publicly but summarized in filings, D4VD entered a dimly lit back room at a venue where Witness A was already waiting. The footage shows both of them pacing. Agitated, something between them breaking apart on camera, Witness A was the first to raise their voice, the first to point a finger, the first to accuse, and the accusations were personal, brutal, designed to destabilize him. One insider who read the transcript said D4VD looked shattered, like someone who was being torn apart by a person they never expected to turn on them. Witness A allegedly threw old secrets at him. Old trauma, old vulnerabilities, they pushed and pushed and pushed. But the part fans still can't accept is that the transcript, the one the court is using, is incomplete. Entire chunks are unavailable, minutes of audio lost, frames corrupted. And every missing piece seems to favor Witness A's version of the story. But here's where things explode. During the height of that confrontation, when emotions were at their peak and D4VD was pleading with Witness A to stop escalating, there was another person in the room. Not visible on camera, not speaking, not intervening. Just standing there, watching. The filings refer to this person only as Observer 3. No name, no description, no relationship to the case. Their identity remains sealed, and that is where the first twist begins. Because according to a whistleblower who anonymously posted to a private subreddit that night, Observer 3 wasn't just watching. Observer 3 was recording. A second recording. A full, unedited version. A version the court has never acknowledged. And when the whistleblower posted a single blurred screenshot from the alleged audio file, fans immediately recognized the waveform. It wasn't chopped. It wasn't muted. It wasn't corrupted. It was complete. This second recording, the one nobody was supposed to know existed, reportedly shows that Witness A provoked the entire confrontation, verbally cornering D4VD, weaponizing personal details, and threatening to destroy everything he built, unless he complied with something vague, something still hidden from the public. And the whistleblower claimed something else. D4VD tried to leave. He was backing away. He wasn't the aggressor. The court's official summary paints him as confrontational. The second recording, if real, paints him as frightened. But the twist gets darker, because just when fans started demanding the second recording, Witness A's legal team issued a statement saying, "No unauthorized material should be considered credible." That wording, unauthorized material, sent chills through the internet. Unauthorized doesn't mean fake. Unauthorized means real but forbidden. Then the biggest bomb dropped. A former team member, someone who had worked with D4VD during his early rise, came forward through a podcast and dropped a line that changed everything. Witness A wasn't acting alone that night. People froze. Clips went viral instantly. Comment sections went feral. Because if Witness A wasn't acting alone, if Observer 3 wasn't random, if someone else orchestrated the pressure, then the sentencing isn't about a spontaneous confrontation. It's about a plan. A coordinated plan to push D4VD into a breaking point. A breaking point that someone else could twist, weaponize, and present as aggression. And the twist that made fans lose their minds. The whistleblower leaked a second screenshot, this time of a note found in Witness A's phone backups. A note titled, "Insurance Claim Strategy." Fans screamed, "Insurance, strategy. Why would Witness A have notes about insurance? Why was D4VD's name listed under it? What was the target date mentioned in the document? And why did it match the night of the incident?" People immediately connected this to earlier rumors about financial discrepancies and unauthorized withdrawals. Things that didn't make sense before suddenly looked coordinated, planned, calculated, and then the final twist of this section hit like a hammer. The second screenshot had a list titled, "Risk Factors If He Doesn't Cooperate." Under it were 3 bullet points. Emotional instability past conflict, witness leverage. The internet collapsed again. Because if that note is real, if Witness A had leverage, then the entire narrative flips. The sentencing becomes something else entirely. A punishment created from a trap. A fallout that someone engineered from the start. And the last bullet point, partially blurred but still visible, said, "Backup plan. Observer 3 will confirm version." Meaning the silent person in the room wasn't random. They were the failsafe. The witness designed to support one narrative, no matter what really happened. Everything that had been whispered in shadows, everything that had been hinted at in leaks, screenshots, and anonymous posts, everything that fans suspected but could never prove, finally exploded the moment the second recording surfaced. Not leaked by the whistleblower, not leaked by Witness A, not leaked by anyone close to the court. It was leaked by someone inside Observer 3's circle, a person nobody saw coming, a person no one suspected, a person who, according to their own anonymous message, couldn't watch the lies anymore. The file dropped at 2:41 a.m. on a Tuesday, but within minutes the internet was awake, screaming, shaking, replaying the audio like it was a forbidden truth finally released into the world. And from the very first second of that recording, it was clear the court had hidden everything. The audio didn't start with yelling, it didn't start with confrontation, it didn't start with the chaos described in the filings. It started with D4VD saying, "Please don't do this tonight, not like this, I can't handle more pressure." His voice was exhausted, not angry, cracked, not aggressive, scared, not violent. Witness A responded, voice cold, controlled, "You don't get to walk away from me." Fans lost their minds, because that single sentence shattered the entire court narrative. And then in the background, a third voice appeared, faint but unmistakably there. Observer 3, breathing, shifting, standing in the room. The atmosphere in the audio felt thick, suffocating, like D4VD had walked into a room where two people already decided how the night would end. Witness A's voice sharpened. "You owe me everything you built, don't forget that." D4VD whispered, "No, I don't owe you my life." Then came a moment so chilling it replayed across every platform within minutes, slowed down, enhanced, analyzed frame by fans and professionals alike. Witness A said, "If you don't cooperate, we'll make sure the world sees you as the problem." The world sees you as the problem. Fans couldn't breathe, because that line wasn't anger, it was a threat, a strategy, a weapon. And then the sound that changed everything. D4VD stepped backward. Something crashed behind him. He gasped sharply, a sound of fear, not aggression. Yet in the official summary, this moment was described as him initiating physical action. The audio proved the opposite. He didn't initiate anything. He tried to escape, and Witness A snapped, "Stay where you are." But D4VD kept backing away. You could hear his voice breaking. "I don't want this, please stop. This is too much." But the part that made fans cry, the part nobody was prepared for, came next. D4VD said quietly, "You're twisting everything, you're trying to ruin me." And Witness A responded, "I'm protecting myself. You forced my hand." No yelling, no chaos, no aggression from him, just manipulation, scripted guilt, weaponized fear. Then the moment of the incident happened and the audio exposed the truth. Witness A lunged first. You can hear the footsteps, you can hear the microphone distort. You can hear D4VD gasp and say, "Don't touch me." And that's when the struggle breaks out. Not the one the court described. Not the one painted by Witness A's lawyers. Not the one the public was told. A struggle where D4VD was the one defending, not attacking. In the background, Observer 3 said the line that made the world freeze. "Keep going. We need enough for the claim." Fans screamed. "Enough for the claim?" Insurance, strategy, target date, all the earlier leaks suddenly made sense. This wasn't a confrontation. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a spontaneous explosion. This was a setup to generate an insurance claim, one tied to the mysterious financial changes that began months earlier. A setup to portray D4VD as unstable, as dangerous, as aggressive. A setup where Witness A and Observer 3 needed evidence, chaos, something they could twist into a narrative powerful enough to destroy him legally and financially. And then, the most heartbreaking moment of the audio happened. When the struggle stopped, D4VD fell to the floor. The sound of impact echoed sharply. He coughed, wheezed, then whispered, "I trusted you." Witness A replied, "You trusted the wrong person," fans cried. Comment sections flooded with heartbreak and rage. People posted thousands of videos shouting, "He didn't do anything. They set him up. They literally planned it. Why is the court ignoring this?" Observer 3 is the key. But within hours of the leak, the audio started disappearing. DMCA takedowns, copyright claims, legal notices, threats of account suspension. Someone was trying to bury the truth again. And then the escalation took an even darker turn. A journalist covering the case tweeted, "We have been instructed not to reference the second recording. Pressure is coming from very high places." People panicked. Why would higher-ups care? Why would anyone powerful want the truth hidden? What was in this case that triggered such dangerous suppression? Then came the twist. The whistleblower who leaked the audio resurfaced briefly, posting a final message. There's a motive deeper than insurance. Witness A wasn't acting out of jealousy. They were acting out of fear. Fear of what? Fear of who? Fear of what truth being exposed. Before anyone could ask, the account deleted itself permanently. And then, hours later, a new leak appeared. A screenshot of Witness A's private notes, a page marked, "If he talks, everything collapses." Below it, Observer 3 will handle the rest. Make sure the narrative stays consistent. Sentencing must go through. The world stopped. This wasn't about a fight. This wasn't about anger. This wasn't about a personal falling out. This was a cover-up, a plan created long before that night. A plan to silence D4VD before he revealed something bigger. A plan involving multiple people, not just Witness A. And the final line on the page, smudged but unmistakable, left the world breathless. He knows what we did. The moment the second recording hit the internet, the moment people heard Witness A threaten him, the moment Observer 3 whispered, "We need enough for the claim." The moment the world realized D4VD was the victim, not the aggressor, the entire entertainment industry erupted like a volcano. What had started as a legal case suddenly turned into a cultural earthquake. And for the first time since the story began, the public wasn't divided anymore. They were united, in rage, in heartbreak, in disbelief, demanding justice for someone they once thought was fading under the pressures of fame, but who was actually being systematically taken apart from inside his own circle. The comment sections became battlegrounds. Millions of people flooded timelines with, "He was set up. The court lied. That recording changes everything. Witness A is finished. Who is Observer 3? And the scariest question of all, what were they all afraid he would talk about?" Top creators went live instantly. Reaction channels streamed for 6 hours straight. Music critics who once speculated about D4VD losing himself creatively now apologized publicly, admitting they misread everything. Fans combed through old interviews where he hesitated mid-sentence, suddenly convinced he wasn't anxious, he was terrified. Then celebrities jumped in. A chart-topping R&B singer posted, "This is the darkest industry setup I've ever seen. Protect D4VD at all costs." A famous rapper tweeted, "If that recording is real, then someone needs to be in jail, and it ain't D4VD." A Grammy-winning producer wrote, "I worked with him once. He was gentle, soft-spoken, kind. There is no world where he was the aggressor." But it wasn't just musicians. A major actor reposted the audio with the caption, "They hunted him." A well-known filmmaker said, "This is beyond criminal. This is coordinated." And then one influencer, someone known for exposing industry corruption, dropped the most chilling post of the week. "You hear Observer 3 say we need enough for the claim. Insurance fraud is just the surface. The real motive is bigger, much bigger." The comment gained 500,000 likes in an hour. That's when panic spread behind the scenes. Industry executives began removing old posts featuring Witness A. PR teams refused to comment. Agents were instructed not to answer calls. Multiple insiders anonymously told reporters that they were warned not to contribute to the fire. One post from a signed artist read, "They're telling us not to talk about D4VD. That should tell you everything." Fans were furious because the silence wasn't neutral, it was loud, and it felt like guilt. Then things took an even more unhinged turn. A major music journalist claimed her editor blocked her from publishing a story connecting Witness A to an unnamed corporate figure who allegedly financed Observer 3. She tweeted, "Something is being buried. Something big." The tweet vanished 30 minutes later, but screenshots stayed. Meanwhile, fans kept rewatching the second recording, analyzing every breath, every footstep, every background shift, and they found something everyone missed. At the 7-minute mark, Witness A said, "Stop stressing. After tonight, everything will be handled." Handled? Handled by who? Handled HOW. People began making timelines tying everything together. The envelope he received, the unexplained bruises, the money going missing, the inner circle jealousy, the orchestrated confrontation, the insurance claim notes, the erased sections, the involvement of Observer 3, the threat. "We'll make sure the world sees you as the problem." And then, the moment that nearly broke the internet. A longtime friend of D4VD, someone who had stayed silent until now, posted, "He wasn't scared of Witness A. He was scared of who was behind Witness A. That single line created global chaos. If Witness A was the front, if Observer 3 was the middleman, then who was the architect?" Fans began digging deeper, trying to identify connections. They noticed the same three initials appearing in various background documents tied to both Witness A and Observer 3, initials that hadn't appeared in the official court filings. Suddenly, theories shifted. This isn't personal, it's business. This isn't a fight, it's a takedown. They needed him out of the way. And then came the broadcast that shook even the most hardened skeptics. A former label employee appeared anonymously on a late-night podcast, voice distorted, camera off. They said, "You're closer to the truth than you think. D4VD found something out. Something he wasn't supposed to know." The host asked what it was. The employee said nothing for 8 seconds. You could hear breathing, nervous, panicked. Then they whispered, "It wasn't just insurance." People lost their minds. If the insurance claim was only the surface, if the confrontation was staged, if Witness A wasn't acting alone, then the real motive had to be something massive, something threatening, something worth coordinating a downfall, something worth risking careers and reputations. That's when a political commentator, someone who never comments on pop culture, tweeted, "Artists don't fall, they get pushed. And when they get pushed, it's because they knew something." The tweet trended instantly. Meanwhile, Witness A deactivated their comments. Observer 3 disappeared online entirely, and yet someone else stepped forward. An anonymous figure, calling themselves the last friend he told, posted a message on a backup account. You want to know what he knew, you want to know what they were scared of, you want to know why they planned the incident. Wait for the next leak, it's not about the fight, it's about what he discovered weeks before it. The account disappeared moments after posting, but the threat lingered, because fans now understood something terrifying. D4VD wasn't being sentenced for a mistake. He was being sentenced to silence. Everything the world thought it understood, every screenshot, every audio leak, every whisper about Witness A, every theory about Observer 3, all of it suddenly felt small once the final leak dropped. Because the truth wasn't hiding in the confrontation. It wasn't hiding in the insurance files. It wasn't even hiding in the second recording. The truth was hiding in what D4VD discovered weeks before everything collapsed. And tonight, that truth finally surfaced. It started with a single file, a blurry PDF uploaded by the account calling themselves the last friend he told. At first, people thought it was fake. The formatting was strange. The text was partially redacted. But when tech analysts confirmed the metadata came from a secure corporate server, the internet froze. This wasn't a rumor. This wasn't fan fiction. This was the document D4VD saw, the one that triggered everything. A file titled, Artist Management Directive Containment Protocol. 2 words immediately ignited panic. Artist, containment. But the deeper people scrolled, the darker it got. Because the file wasn't about D4VD specifically. It was about multiple artists. Artists who mysteriously disappeared from the spotlight. Artists whispered to be difficult, unstable, non-compliant. Artists whose careers ended abruptly with no explanation. The directive listed strategies, cold, clinical, horrifying. Controlled narrative shaping, witness coordination. Insurance, restructuring, behavioral framing, crisis exploitation, media silence enforcement. Every line felt like a punch to the chest. And then came the line that changed everything. Subject, D4VD flagged for potential noncompliance. Fans stopped breathing. Noncompliance with what? A contract, a demand, a threat. The next paragraph was redacted, except for 2 chilling fragments. Received information beyond authorization. Engaging with restricted source. Restricted source. That's when the internet erupted with the biggest theory yet. D4VD found out something he wasn't supposed to know. And the directive confirmed it. Under recommended protocol, the file listed. Engage emotional leverage through primary contact. Witness A, deploy secondary monitor for control. Observer 3. Establish financial destabilization, document behavioral irregularities. Prepare narrative justification for disciplinary action, fans screamed. The plan wasn't to discipline him. The plan was to break him, to isolate him, destabilize him, push him to a confrontation. Then weaponize the outcome, exactly what happened. But the twist didn't stop there. Because at the bottom of the directive, beneath the signatures, beneath the timestamps, beneath the corporate seals, was a name. A name nobody expected. A name connected to powerful executives. A name tied to multiple major industry collapses. A name that had appeared once in a document tied to D4VD's missing money, but was brushed off as clerical. A name that appeared in the witness of financial notes under the heading Oversight. The name read, Director El Hero. The internet exploded so violently that major platforms lagged, because El Haro wasn't a manager, not a producer, not an agent, not an investor. El Haro was a control director, the person responsible for enforcing corporate containment within the entertainment pipeline. Meaning, Witness A wasn't acting alone. Observer 3 wasn't acting randomly. The financial irregularities weren't accidental. The confrontation wasn't emotional. This was a directive, a planned containment event, executed on D4VD because he discovered something the directive labeled restricted. But the darkest moment came when viewers zoomed into a handwritten annotation near D4VD's name. It said, "He is asking questions. Move timeline up." Move timeline up. Meaning, what happened to D4VD wasn't supposed to happen that night. It was scheduled, organized, estimated. But because he began asking the wrong questions, they accelerated the plan. Then a second annotation. "Ensure Witness A maintains narrative consistency." The internet broke, because this confirmed everything the audio already implied. Witness A wasn't a victim. Witness A wasn't emotional. Witness A wasn't confused. Witness A was the handler, the manipulator, the emotional leverage tool, the person chosen to destabilize him from the inside. And Observer 3. Their role was even darker. A third annotation, barely visible but enhanced by analysts, read, "Observer 3 to validate event escalation." Validate, meaning Observer 3 wasn't a witness. Observer 3 was the official verifier, ensuring whatever happened could be shaped into a narrative supporting the containment protocol. Fans began crying, screaming, posting videos, shouting. They destroyed him because he found the truth. He wasn't spiraling, he was being targeted. This is sick, this is evil. He was never meant to survive this. But the biggest shock was still coming. Hours after the directive leaked, another document dropped, this one shorter, cleaner, newer. A message sent only 5 days before the incident. It contained one line addressed to El Haro from an unnamed executive. "Proceed with neutralization if subject remains uncooperative." Neutralization. The comment section exploded into chaos. Neutralize how? Neutralize what? Neutralize WHO. And then the final line of the leaked message, the one that ended the whole section on a cliffhanger that shook millions, appeared. "Witness A confirms subject is ready for Phase 2. Phase 2. But the message didn't explain what Phase 2 was. Fans begged for answers. Journalists demanded clarification. Industry insiders panicked. And then, a final anonymous post hit the internet. Phase 2 wasn't sentencing. Phase 2 was what happened after. And someone needs to tell the world where D4VD really is. Before you scroll, before you move on, before you even blink, ask yourself what we just uncovered. This wasn't a meltdown. This wasn't a conflict. This wasn't a bad night gone wrong. This was a coordinated takedown, a containment protocol, a timeline that was pushed forward the moment D4VD started asking the wrong questions. They didn't want him punished. They wanted him silenced. And now, after the discovery of Phase 2, we don't even know if the sentencing is the end of the story or the beginning of something darker. So I need to hear from you, right now. In the comments, do you think Witness A acted alone? Do you think Observer 3 was following orders or pulling strings of their own? Do you think director El Haro orchestrated the entire downfall? And most importantly, what do you think Phase 2 is? Drop your theories, your rage, your confusion, everything in the comments. Don't hold back. This story has become bigger than the courtroom, bigger than the charges, bigger than the industry. People are terrified to speak. Insiders are leaking pieces of the truth, and the directive we just saw proves this was never about one night. It was about control. Hit like so more people see this breakdown, because the more eyes on this, the harder it becomes for anyone to bury it. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next episode will expose something even deeper. The real motive behind the containment protocol, why D4VD was flagged, what he discovered, and the one person whose identity has been redacted in every single document until now. And when that name drops, the internet will not survive it. So stay locked in, stay loud, stay unafraid, because the truth is coming, and when it breaks, everything they tried to hide about D4VD's final days on record will blow wide open. Comment your theories below. The next chapter arrives soon. This isn't over, not even close.